In honor of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq of Oman yesterday hosted a dinner banquet on the occasion of His Majesty's state visit to Oman at Al Alam Palace. Their Majesties exchanged commemorative gifts at the beginning of the banquet, which was attended by members of the official delegation accompanying His Majesty and senior officials in Oman. The Royal Guard band played the Bahraini royal anthem. During the banquet, their Majesties exchanged cordial talks which reflect the close brotherly ties between Bahrain and Oman and their mutual interest in further strengthening them for the good of the two countries and the interests of their brotherly peoples. His Majesty reiterated thanks and appreciation for the warm hospitality the accompanying delegation received in Oman, which reflected the depth and excellence of the Bahraini-Omani relations. For his part, His Majesty the Sultan expressed confidence that His Majesty the King's visit will boost the strong fraternal relations, wishing the kingdom continued progress and prosperity under the leadership of His Majesty. At the end of the dinner banquet, the band played the Omani royal anthem. In honor of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq of Oman hosted a lunch banquet on the occasion of His Majesty's state visit to Oman at Al Baraka Palace, attended by members of the official delegation accompanying His Majesty the King and senior Omani officials. Upon His Majesty's arrival, His Majesty was welcomed by His Majesty the Sultan of Oman. During the lunch banquet, their Majesties exchanged friendly talks that reflect the close fraternal relations between the two countries, as well as the strong historical ties and mutual interest in further strengthening and consolidating them for the benefit of both countries and their peoples. His Majesty reiterated thanks and appreciation for the warm hospitality and the accompanying delegation received in Oman, which reflected the depth of the Bahraini-Omani relations. His Majesty the Sultan expressed his confidence that His Majesty the King's visit will boost the strong fraternal relations for the benefit of the two brotherly peoples, wishing Bahrain continued progress and prosperity under the leadership of His Majesty the King. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa departed Oman heading back to Bahrain, concluding a state visit following the invitation of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq of Oman. During the visit, Their Majesties held talks on the historic bilateral relations and ways to further enhance them at all levels, in addition to discussing the regional and international developments. Upon departure, His Majesty was bid farewell by His Majesty the Sultan. His Majesty the King sent a cable of thanks to His Majesty the Sultan, in which he expressed pleasure in the visit and expressed appreciation for the warm welcome and generous hospitality received, which reflects the depth of the brotherly relations between the two countries and their peoples. His Majesty praised the discussions held and their outcomes, as well as the agreements and MoUs signed, which affirmed the keenness to further enhance the bilateral cooperation that serve joint interest and the aspirations towards achieving the desired goals, cooperation and partnership for the benefit of the two countries, their peoples and the Arab nation, and to maintain the security and stability of the region. His Majesty wished His Majesty the Sultan lasting good health and happiness and further success in achieving the aspirations of the Omani people towards further progress and prosperity. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa received at his residence in Amman the members of the Board of Directors of the Amman Chamber of Commerce and Industry and a delegation from the Bahrain Chamber of Commerce and Industry upon His Majesty's state visit to Amman. His Majesty welcomed the members of the two chambers, expressing his appreciation for their efforts to promote and develop Bahraini-Omani cooperation, especially in the economy, trade and investment sectors. His Majesty emphasized the depth of fraternal relations between the two brotherly countries and the continuous development and prosperity of cooperation and the joint work in various domains. He praised the good results of his successful visit to Amman and the fraternal meetings with His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq of Amman, which will have a positive impact on further strengthening the close bilateral relations, especially in the economic and investment aspects, for the benefit of the two countries and their peoples. His Majesty expressed congratulations on the occasion of signing MoUs and agreements between Bahrain and Amman, which will increase the volume of cooperation between the two countries. His Majesty expressed pride and appreciation for the pioneering role of His Majesty the Sultan in supporting and consolidating Bahraini-Omani relations and praised the comprehensive achievements Oman made under his leadership, especially at the economic and commercial levels, and the reputation it has at the regional and international levels. His Majesty also praised the important role played by the private sector and businessmen in both countries in increasing the volume of trade exchange through the establishment of joint investment and economic projects, expressing hope that the meetings between the two sides will increase economic cooperation and the exchange of expertise, which are a mutual benefit to both sides. His Majesty also highlighted the advantages of Bahrain's economy, including its strategic location and skilled human resources across various domains. For their part, the members expressed thanks and gratitude to His Majesty and pride in His Majesty's role in developing historical relations and supporting and developing economic, investment and trade cooperation between the two countries. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa visited the Royal Opera House in Muscat within the framework of His Majesty's state visit to Amman, where he was accompanied by the members of the official accompanying delegation and the Minister of Interior and Head of the Mission of Honor, Mahmoud bin Faisal al-Busayri. Upon His Majesty's arrival, he was received by the Secretary General of the Royal Court Affairs, Nasr bin Hamoud al-Kindi, and the Assistant Secretary General of the Office of the Deputy Prime Minister for the Council of Ministers, His Highness Sayyid Kamil bin Fahd al-Said. At the beginning of the visit, His Majesty toured the Opera House, where he was briefed on its various facilities and departments. His Majesty was also briefed by its officials on the nature of the performances it offers, its program throughout the year, and its equipment, which are one of the most modern equipment used for international music performances. During his tour of the theatre and other facilities, His Majesty was briefed on the architectural richness of the Opera House and its ability to blend Oman's architectural heritage with architectural culture from different continents, in addition to its role in the cultural field and the high-level classical arts it offers, as well as its performance of musical pieces and concerts.
السلام عليكم يا الملك.
The Secretary General of the Royal Court Affairs presented a commemorative gift to His Majesty the King. His Majesty then wrote a message in the VIP registry in which he expressed pride in his visit to the Opera House, which is an embodiment of the art and culture in Oman. His Majesty noted that it represents a symbol of elevation and expression of the Omani identity, rich in culture, creativity and innovation, adding that culture and art are a bridge between generations and promote human values and understanding between cultures. His Majesty reiterated pleasure in this visit and commended the work of all those who contributed to building this artistic and cultural landmark and wished its management success. He emphasized the importance of national arts and talent as they express history and aspiration towards a brighter future. His Majesty was then bid farewell by senior officials at the Opera House. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa returned to the Kingdom of Bahrain following a state visit to Oman at the invitation of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq of Oman. During the visit, His Majesty held talks with His Majesty the Sultan on relations between the two countries. And now we have this stand with our news correspondent Abdurrahman Al-Midfa from Muscat.
The state visit of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa to the Sultanate of Oman upon the invitation of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq goes far beyond the formalities of protocol. It is a visit that encompasses meaningful joint efforts. His Majesty the King held official talks with His Majesty the Sultan, addressing vital topics such as bilateral cooperation and regional and international developments. These discussions present a significant opportunity to strengthen collaboration in critical fields that serve the interests of both peoples and add another cornerstone to the solid structure of the bilateral relations. From development to economy, from culture to regional stability, this visit embodies the shared resolve of both nations to build upon their rich history and work hand in hand for a future of greater prosperity. From Al Alam Palace, reporting for Bahrain International, I am Abdurrahman Al-Midfa.
As part of the state visit by His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa to Oman, in response to an invitation from His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq of Oman, 25 agreements, MoUs and executive programs were signed at Al Bustan Palace, which aim to enhance bilateral cooperation in various domains as follows. Double taxation agreement, which aims to develop economic relations between the two countries and enhance cooperation on tax matters. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Finance and National Economy, Sheikh Salman bin Khalifa Al Khalifa, and Oman's Chairman of the Tax Authority, Nasser Al Jashmi. An MoU on metrology, which aims to create a cooperative framework to enhance partnership and communication between the two countries in metrology. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani, and Oman's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Badr bin Hamid Al Busaidi. An MoU on health cooperation, which aims to enhance and develop cooperation between the two countries in the health sector. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Oman's Minister of Foreign Affairs. An MoU on the stock market, which aims to enhance cooperation in areas related to the exchange of expertise, information advisory services, training, dual listing issues, facilitating the entry of broker system development, and improving integration between the two parties. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Industry and Commerce, Abdullah Fakhro, and Amman's Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion, Qais bin Mohammed Al Yusuf. An MoU on scientific and educational cooperation, which aims to enhance and develop cooperation between the two countries in scientific and educational domains. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Amman's Minister of Foreign Affairs. An MoU on media cooperation, which aims to enhance and develop cooperation between the two countries in media. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Amman's Minister of Foreign Affairs. An MoU in Waqf, which aims to enhance cooperation between the two countries in the field of Awqaf. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Amman's Minister of Foreign Affairs. An MoU on Zakah, which aims to enhance cooperation between the two countries in the field of Zakah. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Amman's Minister of Foreign Affairs. An MoU on mutual investment opportunities, which aims to enhance and develop cooperation between the two countries in promoting mutual investment opportunities. It was signed by the Minister of Finance and National Economy and Amman's Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion. An MoU on industrial empowerment and national content development, including mining, which aims to enhance industrial relations between the two countries through strategic partnerships between the public and private sectors and the development and national content to add value and enhance the sustainability of national industries. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Industry and Commerce and Amman's Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion. An MoU on food security, which aims to enhance cooperation in food security and knowledge exchange between the two parties. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Finance and National Economy and Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Amman Investment Authority, Sultan Al Habsi. An MoU on investment, which aims to enhance cooperation in the field of investment and knowledge exchange between the two parties. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Finance and National Economy and the Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Amman Investment Authority. An MoU on organizing exhibitions and conferences, which aims to create a framework for cooperation in organizing exhibitions and conferences, providing opportunities to showcase the national products of the two countries to further enhance commercial relations. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Amman's Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion. An MoU on inspection, standards and gold hallmarking, which aims to enhance cooperation in inspection and standardization, to ensure the accuracy of products and compliance with specifications, as well as improve gold hallmarking processes to meet international standards and ensure the quality of gold products. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Industry and Commerce and Amman's Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion. An MoU on agricultural production development on food security, which aims to support the development of agriculture and research and facilitate bilateral cooperation in these areas based on principles of equality and mutual interest. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Amman's Minister of Foreign Affairs. An MoU on fast-track patents and intellectual property, which aims to create a framework for cooperation in intellectual property, facilitating the exchange of technical knowledge, advice, and expertise between the two countries. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Industry and Commerce and Amman's Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion. An MoU on social insurance and protection, which aims to enhance and develop cooperation in the field of social insurance and protection. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Amman's Minister of Energy and Minerals, Salim Al-Aufi. An MoU on labor and human resources development, which aims to regulate cooperation in labor and human resources development in accordance with the laws and regulations of both countries. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Amman's Minister of Foreign Affairs. An MoU on public administration, which aims to promote joint efforts and cooperation to implement various programs and initiatives that serve institutional goals. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Amman's Minister of Foreign Affairs. An MoU on building and enhancing capabilities to combat human trafficking, which aims to enhance and build capabilities, exchange experiences, and best practices in combating human trafficking. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Amman's Minister of Foreign Affairs. An MoU on establishing, developing, and managing economic and industrial zones, which aims to enhance cooperation in those fields. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Industry and Commerce and Amman's Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion. An executive program on educational institution evaluation. It aims to enhance cooperation between the two countries in training external auditing teams for school education. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Amman's Minister of Foreign Affairs. An executive program for municipal work 2025-2026. It aims to exchange information, expertise, knowledge, practices, systems, publications, strategic studies, and guidelines in the field of municipal work. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Oman's Minister of Foreign Affairs. An executive program on museum cooperation, which aims to enhance cooperation in museum work through mutual technical support to develop museum-related activities. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Oman's Minister of Foreign Affairs. And an executive program on electricity and renewable energy cooperation 2025-2030, which aims to strengthen and develop cooperation between Bahrain's Ministry of Electricity and Water Affairs and Oman's Ministry of Energy and Minerals in the fields of electricity and renewable energy. It was signed by Bahrain's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Oman's Minister of Energy and Minerals. Based on the deep-rooted historical ties between Oman and Bahrain and the strong fraternal relations between His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq of Oman and His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, and in order to strengthen the strong bilateral relations, His Majesty the Sultan received His Majesty the King, who headed a high-level delegation on a state visit to Oman. During the visit, extensive bilateral talks were held in an atmosphere of brotherhood, during which their Majesties reviewed the progress of joint action and close bilateral cooperation and the strength of the existing bonds between the two sides. Their Majesties praised the growth of relations and mutual interest and stressed the importance of expanding the horizons of cooperation and economic partnership by exploring and developing more opportunities and encouraging the public and private sectors to diversify the areas of economic and investment partnership to meet the ambitions of the two countries and peoples. In this regard, they welcomed the establishment of the Oman Bahrain Investment Company and wished it success. The visit witnessed the signing of a number of agreements, MoUs, and executive programs in various fields that would enhance the partnership between the two countries. The two sides praised the success of the Oman-Bahrain Joint Committee and its active role in enhancing bilateral cooperation and implementing joint projects that serve the interests of the two countries, emphasizing the importance of continuing its efforts to develop new areas of partnership to achieve the aspirations of the two countries. The two sides stressed the importance of continuing their efforts to develop new areas of partnership to achieve their common aspirations, including encouraging economic and investment initiatives between the public and private sectors. Their Majesties discussed the march of the GCC and its outstanding achievements in terms of joint Gulf action towards greater cohesion, cooperation, and integration for the benefit of their peoples. The two sides discussed a number of regional and international issues and developments of common interest. They stressed the importance of settling disputes and conflicts by peaceful means, and the need to strengthen dialogue and international cooperation to support efforts to achieve security and stability in the region and the world, and emphasized the importance of enhancing consultation and intensifying coordination in their positions to serve common interests and strengthen the pillars of stability, security, and prosperity for all the peoples of the region and the world. At the conclusion of the visit, His Majesty the King expressed thanks and appreciation to His Majesty the Sultan for the warm welcome and hospitality. His Majesty the Sultan wished His Majesty the King good health and happiness, and Bahrain and its people further progress and prosperity.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الضيف الكريم، نرحب بكم في بلدكم سلطنة عمان، ونتشرف بمرافقتكم إلى حين وصولكم بإذن الله.
البحرين يا أخي، عندي رسالة من جلالة الملك ملك البحرين، وهي نقدم لكم ولسلاح الجو السلطاني هذا الاستقبال، وبارك الله فيكم.
مملكة البحرين.
Media through governments and private institutions plays a major role in highlighting the achievements of the Blessed March of Bahrain and Oman in light of the state visit of His Majesty the King. More in this report. Media cooperation between Bahrain and Oman comes in light of the state visit by His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. Witness media cooperation and integration that serves common interests and contributes to the development of the media system and its regional and international competitiveness. This cooperation comes with the aim of strengthening coordination and cohesion between media institutions, which contributes to achieving their goals and responsibilities more comprehensively, harnessing their efforts and media production for the common interest, in addition to exchanging experiences and meetings that reflect positively on doubling the pace of joint media coordination for further development and excellence in the field of media at the regional level. This media momentum clearly represents the strategic dimension of the Bahraini-Omani media relations and their continuous efforts to expand the circle of cooperation to establish a technical structure consistent with the achievements in both countries. The Royal Opera House in Muscat is one of the most prominent cultural landmarks in Oman that blends the richness of heritage with the sophistication of international arts. It was opened in 2011 and became a destination for music and art fans from around the globe. The Opera House embodies art and creativity, combining Oman's ancient heritage with the finest international arts. From world-famous operas to classical concerts and cultural festivals, the Opera House hosted many dazzling performances over the years. As part of the diplomatic forum organized by the Foreign Affairs Ministry on the occasion of Bahrain's Diplomatic Day, the third day began with a session titled Bahrain and Sustainability, an Economic and Environmental Vision for a Sustainable Future. Ambassador Nasser Al-Blushi emphasized that Bahrain is moving confidently towards achieving sustainable development inspired by the vision of His Majesty the King and the directives of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister. The project advisor at the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, Khalid Al-Marzouqi, highlighted the strategies that promote sustainability in the industrial and commercial sectors, pointing to initiatives such as Sijillat and At-Tajer app that make it easier for entrepreneurs to manage their businesses. The Director of the Climate Change and Sustainable Development at the Ministry of Oil and Environment, Engineer Layla Sabil, provided a comprehensive definition of sustainability and balance between consuming current resources and ensuring their sustainability for future generations. The Director of Communication and International Relations at the Ministry of Sustainable Development, Fatoon Al-Amadi, explained the pivotal role of diplomacy in achieving the SDGs. The Director of Financial Sustainability, Danish Shemasi, focused on efforts on reducing dependence on oil revenues through the Fiscal Balance Program. As part of the diplomatic forum organized by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the occasion of Bahrain's Diplomatic Day, a session titled Economic Development in Bahrain, Solid Pillars and Distinguished Achievements was held, where the Chief Business Development Officer at the Economic Development Board, Ali Al-Mdaifa, reviewed Bahrain's economic achievements. He pointed out to the ongoing efforts to diversify the economy and enhance the investment environment, emphasizing that Bahrain has become a model for sustainable development in the region. The advisor to the Board of Directors of the Economic Development Board, Ian Lindsay, pointed out the factors that make Bahrain a preferred destination for investment. Ambassador Yusuf Ahmed emphasized the importance of promoting economic diplomacy as one of the pillars of foreign policy, noting the role of Bahrain's ambassadors in representing Bahrain and promoting its economic success globally. As part of the diplomatic forum organized by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, a session titled Managing Bilateral Relations and Agreements and Dividing Development was held. Ambassador of Bahrain to Algeria, Ali Al-Arari, emphasized the important role of bilateral relations in Bahrain's foreign policy, noting the bilateral agreements an effective tool in enhancing cooperation between countries. Chief of Asian and Pacific Affairs, Munir Al-Dosari, spoke about the pivotal role of heads of state offices in enhancing bilateral relations, noting the importance of building a generation of specialized experts, which contributes to improving the follow-up of bilateral cooperation between Bahrain and brotherly and friendly countries. Director of Information Systems, Ambassador Rana Mohammed Hassan, gave a detailed presentation on the newly launched electronic bilateral platform relations.